Whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
A month of shrieking hype, millions of words of ink, hundreds of hours of the shrillest television ever produced add up to pretty much nothing.
Why didn't you stop and say, Mr. President, this is wrong. I cannot discuss this with you.
It's a great question. Maybe if I were stronger, I would have.
James Comey's the leaker-in-chief.
I asked a friend of mine to share the content.
You know, somebody you want to be your FBI director sounds like J. Edgar Hoover.
The tweets have begun. The president has just tweeted, despite so many false statements and lies, total and complete vindication. And wow, Comey is a leaker.
You ever wonder why, of all the things in this investigation, the only thing that's never been leaked is the fact that the president was not personally under investigation?
Yeah, the only thing that didn't leak was the truth. Thank God Trump fired him. He needed to go.
Fox and friends, are you with us? I love like I'm not scared. Give when it's not fair. Live a life for another. Take time for your brother. Fight for the weak ones. Speak out for freedom. Find faith in battle. Stand tall and above it. I'll sing along. Fix my eyes on you. Talk, everybody knows it, everybody knows it. The less travelers sought to walk, everybody knows it.
Born in Australia, raised in Nashville, and now live in our summer concert series, the All-American Summer Concert Series, brought to you by Keurig. It's for King and Country.
Yeah, they're terrific, aren't they? And they're singing about fix our eyes on you, Lord.
That's right.
Christian rock band, awesome.
Right. Meanwhile, that was a quick break from real life. Now back to real life. Real life is all about Comey yesterday, where the whole world watched, literally, and no one worked except us. We took notes, and a lot can happen, and a lot has changed. The president's actually even tweeted about it. Joining us now to expand on this is campaign manager, the former campaign manager for President Trump, maybe before he runs for re-election too. Corey Lewandowski, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
When you look at the assessment right now, if you're in the White House, do you feel good, indifferent, or bad today?
Well, I think if you're in the White House, you're very pleased knowing that Jim Comey had to testify under oath in an open setting that Donald Trump, as a candidate, as the president-elect, and now as the president, has never been under FBI investigation for anything. That is a win for the president. It's something that Jim Comey should have done many times before. He told the Gang of Eight, but they didn't relay that information. And what we saw, and what Marco Rubio talked about, was that all of the other leaks were coming out of the FBI, but the truth was not coming out. So it's finally good that the truth is out, that Donald Trump has never been under an FBI investigation, which we knew anyways.
Well, it almost didn't get out with many members of the media last night. I mean, even CNN's John King said, well, this is probably going to get buried. I'm paraphrasing him now. It's just not that it's not going to break the headlines.
Well, the reason being is what we saw about Jim Comey last night. He's the leaker. He's the Washington leaker. He's the deep state. He's everything that's wrong with Washington. He's the person who is self-promoting, who is taking his memorandums that he's written, following meetings with the president, said, I was so stunned, so shocked, I didn't know who to call. This guy's the head of the FBI. He's a career law enforcement officer, and he's so stunned by having a private meeting with the president, which, by the way, he initiated the first private meeting with the president.
He denies that. He said he didn't initiate any meeting. Oh, you mean
the first meeting that he ever met with the president, he asked for a private one-on-one meeting. So this was standard operating procedure that the president meet with the FBI director one-on-one because Jim Comey set that agenda.
Extraordinarily, when you think about it, when it comes to leakers, you figure, well, maybe it's somebody like that reality winner or somebody at a low level. But to have the now former director of the FBI be the leaker, it's extraordinary because a month ago, under inquiry by Chuck Grassley, the senator from the great state of Iowa, Mr. Comey said, I have never leaked any top secret stuff. And then yesterday...
Even through a surrogate. He even denied ever doing it through a surrogate.
Well, then yesterday he was talking, giving testimony, and this is when he revealed he is, as Corey said, a leaker. Watch.
President tweeted on Friday, after I got fired, that I better hope there's not tapes. I woke up in the middle of the night on Monday night, because it didn't dawn on me originally, that there might be corroboration for our conversation. There might be a tape. And my judgment was I needed to get that out into the public square. And so I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter. Didn't do it myself for a variety of reasons, but I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel. And so I asked a close friend of mine to do it.
And was that Mr. Wittes?
No, no.
Who was that?
A good friend of mine who's a professor at Columbia Law School.
And that good friend is Daniel Richman at Columbia Law School, a professor there. Also, I think somebody who is listed as a special counsel to James Comey when he was FBI director. Do you follow his timeline, Corey? Do you agree with that timeline that he gave?
Look, not only does the timeline not add up, but what he testified under oath was that he knew that Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, was going to recuse himself from the Russia investigation.
In 2 weeks.
This is a statement that he made on February 15th. I know that Jeff Sessions is going to recuse himself from this investigation. Jeff Sessions did not recuse himself from the Russia probe until February 2nd, so 2 full weeks in advance. And what we also know is that the Wall Street Journal wrote a story on March 1st, and what it said was this hand-wringing at the FBI about how to get the Attorney General to recuse himself because there is no procedure in place except public pressure.
Corey, you're saying that James Comey, former FBI director, was making stuff up yesterday.
Look, what I'm saying very candidly is that Jim Comey had information about Jeff Sessions and wanted Jeff Sessions removed from the investigation, and he said so basically yesterday that he wanted a special prosecutor appointed, but there was no formal process. Look, the timeline doesn't add up, and Comey hasn't told the truth.
I want to outline what you're saying. You're saying that on the theme of leaking, that the FBI director knew about the Kislyak meetings and knew if that became exposed, the public pressure would be so great he'd have to recuse himself. So knowing he has this in his arsenal, how do you get that out? You leak it to the press, Sessions is forced to own up to it, and then without even telling the president, he recuses himself, which causes, which eventually spurs the special counsel.
What's interesting about that, too, is that we don't know if that actually went through another friend. That wasn't just a friend, Daniel Richman. This is a person who is so good at what he does as an expert, he's done it in front of congressional hearings. That's a pretty special friend to call at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I want to move on from that. I want to talk about the president and his friends and where you stand on kind of supporting this president through this situation. Donald Trump Jr. was the only person tweeting yesterday. Sarah Huckabee Sanders seemed to be caught flat-footed when she said the president isn't a liar in the White House press secretary briefing. Your thoughts on that? You've been a messenger for this president when he was a candidate. Is it frustrating? What is it?
Look, I think it's very important to know, and I'm an unapologetic supporter of this president to get his agenda done. I've never been anything but that. What you have to understand is that the president is the best messenger. And what we saw yesterday was his attorney who came out and said that the president has been vindicated by Jim Comey, reaffirming what everyone already knew, that the president's never been under an investigation of the FBI in any way, shape, or form. Very important to know. What Jim Comey said was, under oath, the president's a liar, okay? Jim Comey has absolutely zero credibility left. This is a person
now
who,
every Democrat now believes him. Well, now they're saying that he's...
But this is the amazing part. He was the director of the FBI for 5 years. His boss, Attorney General Lynch, told him not to speak about a certain investigation, call it a matter. But Jim Comey never had the wherewithal or the courage to report that to anybody.
Do you think these messages are coming out strong enough from the White House?
They're not, but I just want you to hear this. This is Jim Comey describing why at 6'7", probably 240 pounds, with a brand new president, he didn't come forward to tell somebody how upset he was about the one-on-one meetings.
Why didn't you stop and say, Mr. President, this is wrong. I cannot discuss this with you?
It's a great question. Maybe if I were stronger, I would have. Look, I've seen the tweet about tapes. Lordy, I hope there are tapes.
So he didn't come forward. He's so upset about this. He jots it down, but he doesn't come forward.
Brian, 18 U.S. Code Section 4 is very clear. As a government official, if you think someone has asked you to obstruct justice, you have an obligation, a duty, a responsibility to report that. And if you don't, it is a felony punishable by 3 years in jail. We clearly know there was no obstruction of justice here. The president said, I hope you get this Flynn thing on its way. And Jim Comey wasn't strong enough. He's the director of the FBI, and he wasn't strong enough to pick up the phone and call somebody. This is all politics.
But he couldn't stand up to Loretta Lynch
either. Couldn't stand, look, the guy's weak, okay? He's weak as could be. I'm glad the president fired him. He's the swamp creature. He's everything that's wrong with Washington. He's a leaker, and if he hadn't been fired, he should have been fired for leaking information.
The president's lawyer said that Donald Trump never asked him for loyalty. What that would suggest is, maybe there aren't any tapes.
Look, maybe there's a tape, maybe there's not a tape. It doesn't really matter.
Do you know the answer?
I don't know the answer. I don't work in the White House. Here's what I know. I know that two people were part of that conversation, Jim Comey and President Trump. And what we saw yesterday was that Jim Comey has a problem telling the truth. Look back at his previous testimony in front of Congress. He had to go back and correct his statements then because he has a hard time remembering about what took place then.
He called the president a liar.
That nobody asked him to do anything with regard to backing off. He said, no one has pressured me.
That's right.
Except Loretta Lynch.
Except Loretta Lynch. And look, the real collusion, what we found out was the only people that influenced the election last cycle was the Obama administration, Loretta Lynch, and Jim Comey trying to not move forward with an investigation because he was asked not to.
Corey, doesn't it look to you, and Mr. Comey this week revealed that he was the source of the leak, and he's the guy who had the memos as well. Doesn't it look to you like he kept the memos as kind of an insurance policy so that if he ever got in a jam, he'd just go, by the way, Mr. President, I've been taking really good notes, and this is what you told me.
It smells like revenge.
It's exactly what it is. You have to remember, he had worked for previous administrations and never took a memo after leaving a meeting. He's the one who asked for the private meeting in the first place in Trump Tower on January 6th, and then he was so compelled when he left Trump Tower, he started typing in his vehicle according to his own testimony. Look, this is all CYA, as we call it in the business. You know what that means, okay? It's cover your you-know-what, okay? What this is
Jim Comey.
Exactly. Jim Comey is about protecting Jim Comey. He's not doing what's best for the country or for the president.
So the Comey era is done. He's probably through. So obviously he's out of a job. He's going to get a better paying job. So what is your advice to the White House now? Where should they focus?
Look, I think after yesterday's testimony, what the president should do, which is exactly what his team has started to do, is any questions that relate to any potential discussions about Russia, which the president had nothing to do with because I was there every day, goes to his attorney and they can deal with it on the outside. That's the right thing. Mark Kasowitz is going to deal with that, and any inquiries that should come should go to Kasowitz.
2:45, there's a press conference. The president's going to be with the Romanian leader, and those questions come about Russia. Do you think he's going to punt?
Look, I think what the president should do is talk about infrastructure, talk about building the wall on the southern border.
What do you think he'll do?
Look, I hope the president says
he doesn't
Mark Kasowitz is going to do it.
You don't know, Corey.
Nobody knows, right?
He has already tweeted a couple of times today.
As he should. I love when he tweets.
Good to see you, Corey.
Thank you.
I bet you do, because you're the guy who famously said, let Donald Trump be Donald Trump.
Let Trump be Trump.
You're the reason.
He's a winner.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Corey. All right, straight ahead, British Prime Minister